And now comes our cone problem. It says water flows into a conical tank, so here's a cone, that is 80 inches wide and 200 inches deep. So if it's 80 inches wide, that means the radius would be 40, yes? And it's a conical tank, so I'll draw it like this. And it says it's 80 inches down, so I said 80 all the way down to the bottom. 80 inches deep. And never mind, it's not 80, it's 200 inches deep, sorry. I was reading that again. 80 inches wide, so the radius is 40, but it's 200 inches deep. Okay, I think we're good now. And it said water flows into the tank at a rate of 50 cubic inches per second. So water is pouring into our tank, like there's a faucet right here, and it's pouring in at a rate of 50 cubic inches per second. 50 cubic inches per second. So we could say then that the volume is equal to 50T. You see how I got that? If time was in seconds, so in 0 seconds you wouldn't have any water. In 1 second you'd have 50 cubic inches. 2 seconds you'd have 100 cubic inches. 3 seconds you'd have 150, etc. So this is a way to describe volume in terms of time, okay? And it says find the volume of the water in the tank as a function of the height h of the water. Find the volume. What's a formula for volume? Volume is equal to 1/3 pi r squared h. So it said find volume only in terms of the height of the water. Right now I have it in terms of r and h. It says then represent h as a function of time t that the water has been flowing into the tank. All right, so first thing we're going to do, we're going to solve finding volume in terms of h. And we do that using similar triangles. And you think about the water that's already in here, we'll call that r because we don't know. We'll just call r for radius, and we'll call the height of the water in the tank h, okay? So the capacity of the tank has a radius of 40 and a depth of 200 inches. But the radius, I'm not sure. The radius of the water will vary and the height will vary. But would you agree with me, these kind of make, you kind of connected these make like similar triangles because they're similar right triangles. So we could say that r is to h, radius is to height, as 40 is to 200. Well, you could simplify this first. You could cancel the zeros, and 4 goes into 20. 4 over 20 reduces to be what, 1/5? Because 4 goes into 25 times. And then I'm trying to solve for r because I want to get rid of r. So first of all, I'm going to cross multiply, so I could say 5r is equal to h times 1, which is h. And I'm trying to solve for r, so I'll divide both sides by 5. So I get r is equal to h over 5. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to take that value I got for the radius, and I'm going to substitute it for the r that's right there. You could say volume is equal to 1/3, I'm going to call everybody a fraction, times pi over 1 times h over 5 squared, because I substituted, instead of r, I put in h over 5, and then times h over 1. Remember, if you have a number that's just a whole number and it's not written as a fraction, you can write it as a fraction, just put it over 1. So then we get volume is equal to 1/3 times pi over 1. I need to square first. Order of operations says I have to square, do my exponents first. So this would be, we square the numerator, which would be h squared, and I square the denominator, which would be 25, times h over 1. And finally, then I'm just going to multiply straight across. So in the numerator, I have pi h cubed over 3 times 25, which is 75. So we get volume in terms of only h as pi h cubed over 75. So that is the answer to my first question. The second question they asked me, because this will be 2 questions, all right? The first one will be this, and then they'll look like the same problem, but then they ask you this. Represent h as a function of t. So you're looking at h equal to something with a t in it. All right, So remember we wrote this formula for volume, and we already have this formula for volume. Since they're both equal to V, I can set them equal to each other. And isn't that handy that I have H and T in this? This has H, this has T. And they're equal to each other because they're both equal to the volume of the water that's in the tank. So I can say pi H cubed, let me make sure we're still on the screen here. Yeah, not so much. So we could say pi H cubed over 75 is equal to 50T. And it says represent H as a function of T. So like on your test it'll say, what is H of T? That means solve for H, and then the variable over here will be T. So I need to solve for H. So to get rid of pi over 75, I just multiply both sides by 75 over pi. That way this cancels and this cancels, and so over here I have H cubed equal to 50 times 75. Well, 50 times 75, let's just say we do it like this. This would be 0, 5 times 5 is 25, carry the 2, 5 times 7 is 35, plus 2 is 37, so 3750. So I have 3750, remember this is like over 1, multiplying these, T over pi. And then we take, to get solve for H, just take the cube root of both sides. So then I get the height of this, because the cube root of H cubed is just H, is the cube root of 3750T over pi. So there is my height in terms of time. So 2 questions are going to be this volume. If I were you, I'd practice doing this one. It's not that difficult, and if you're used to doing it, just kind of goes like normal way. Alright. Sorry, you can't see that very well. Just noticed. There we go.